Beneath the soaring spires of a 13th century Polish cathedral, the earth in the crypt is dense with the weight of centuries. It is a cold, sacred space, thick with the smell of damped limestone, melting beeswax, and the silence of the forgotten dead. When archaeologists finally brushed away 800 years of dark medieval soil from a shallow, unadorned grave beneath the altar, they uncovered two skeletons locked in a tender, mutual embrace. One arm rested protectively across the other's ribs, their skulls tilted inward, foreheads gently touching. For years, the scholarly consensus painted a predictable picture. Historians assumed these bones belonged to a nobleman and his wife, struck down by a sudden sickness and buried together in their final moments. Yet, even if they were married, this arrangement defied the strict rules of the era. The medieval Catholic Church tightly orchestrated burials, prioritizing postures of submission to God. To arrange bodies so intimately in consecrated ground bypassed the rigid, orthodox conventions expected of the medieval dead. In May of 2026, scientists in a paleogenetics laboratory pulverized a tiny, dense fragment of the petrous bone extracted from the skulls. They fed this degraded ancient material into state-of-the-art DNA sequencers, aiming to confirm the long-held husband and wife theory. The data flashing across the lab monitors directly contradicted the historical consensus. The sequencing showed a complete absence of the Y chromosome. Both bodies were biological females. Furthermore, the genomic markers proved definitively they shared no familial relation, not sisters nor mother and daughter. The response was instantaneous. Across Reddit, TikTok, and YouTube, the skeletons became a viral sensation as the first genetically verified, deliberately staged same-sex burial discovered in medieval Europe. This discovery raises a difficult question. How did two women pull off a deliberately staged, consecrated burial directly beneath the unblinking eyes of a lethal medieval patriarchy? The reality of 13th century Poland is documented in Latin manuscripts like this one. In this era, the Inquisition punished deviations from religious dogma with public flogging, exile, or the pyre. To maintain a clandestine relationship in this environment meant navigating claustrophobic, highly surveyed spaces. Whether they were noblewomen in arranged marriages or a lady and her handmaiden, they lived completely surrounded by courtly observers. Within the cathedral's domain, every interaction was a risk. A single brushed hand in these stone cloisters, or a stolen glance across a banquet hall, carried the immediate threat of exposure. For their bond to survive, it had to exist entirely in the shadows, hidden behind heavy tapestry curtains, where whispers were masked by the chanting of monks and the winter wind. The bones themselves present a haunting puzzle. Both women passed away at the exact same time, while still in the prime of their lives. Looking at their skeletal structure, there are no marks of violence. We see no sword cuts, no crushed ribs, and no signs of bludgeoning, which suggests they were not victims of an attack. One possibility is that they succumbed together to a sudden, virulent sickness, such as a localized outbreak of the plague. Alternatively, faced with the prospect of discovery or forced separation, they may have chosen a suicide pact, perhaps sharing poisoned wine to ensure they would not have to live without the other. Regardless of how they died, their simultaneous passing forces us to look past the skeletons themselves and toward the logistics of the grave. The dead cannot arrange their own bodies. Because these women were placed in an embrace, we know someone else was aware of their secret and took possession of their remains. This required an accomplice with significant influence, perhaps a sympathetic priest or a loyal relative who had the power to bypass the church's strict monitoring of the cathedral grounds. This burial would have been a frantic, high-stakes operation. Plunged into an inky darkness, lit only by a single torch, a rogue gravedigger would have worked quickly, his spade echoing against the vaulted stone ceilings. In this moment, the act of digging was more than a burial. It was a direct act of defiance against the most powerful institution on earth. With reverent hands, the accomplice lowered the women into the earth, pointedly ignoring the church's requirement to cross the arms over the chest in a final act of submission. Instead, he honored their bond by wrapping their arms around one another and pressing their foreheads together in the soil. This staging carried weight for the afterlife. By arranging them this way, the accomplice ensured that if the biblical resurrection arrived, these women would awaken exactly as they lived, holding each other. This discovery continues to trend because it challenges the static versions of history often found in textbooks. It offers proof that even within rigid societal structures, individual lives followed their own, undocumented paths. The Polish skeleton suggests that human desire exists independently of the laws designed to suppress it. Their presence beneath a cathedral floor proves that while dogmas eventually crumble, the evidence of human connection remains etched into the earth itself.